but they were able to pick this up so fast that their business now is 50 to 100% bigger, because when that demand came back, they just said, guess what? We have the automation that can run 24/7.
Hi, this is Tim Heston, Senior Editor at the Fabricator magazine, and thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Automation Talk, a video series presented by FMA in partnership with Salvagnini America. For this episode, I'm speaking with Mike Schlagenhafer, a longtime industry veteran. He's got to start as a tool and die maker back in the 1970s. He's held various management positions in electronics manufacturing, aerospace manufacturing, and more. And today he works as a lean manufacturing expert and automation consultant for Acuity Insurance. I spoke with him recently about how fabricators should start their automation journey, as far as what to look for, how to examine your own processes, and the first steps to take. And according to Mike, it really starts with getting the right people together and building a process map.
So there's a lot of questions that we have to deal with tool holding, material handling, and then put them on a whiteboard, right? And say, okay, here's what it is. Here's what you do right now. Where do we see opportunities for improvement, and where do we see issues that we solve before we even go to the automation or the integrator guy? And a lot of times is what you said is that I run into this once the automation is in there, they run out of material because, you have that robot lifting those sheets so much faster and more consistent, like a gantry style rope, and suddenly they're material. So we want to see this and says, okay, and I go back to lean, what's your customer's takt time? What do they need? How many parts? Or the upstream operation, what do they need? Because sometimes when you put automation in, you create a faster process, and then your upstream process or downstream process can't keep up, and now your automation sits, which costs you a lot of money. Let's look at all of those systems that are when I say connected, people always think of a hardwire, but when you run a business, your payroll is connected to your operations, because if you don't pay your people, they're not going to come in next week. Your engineering is connected to your operation. It puts you in a whole new game. And I like to flag that to them and say, yeah, for the next 3 months, you probably do a lot of tweaking, adjusting. But when this system really runs the way we're dreaming about it, what are you doing up front to keep that fed? In the automotive industry, right, they went from, 1 million engines a year to 300,000 engines, right? And then they came out with new model. So what they actually did is they brought their integrators back in on the robotic suppliers and sat down, and they actually developed the module system. So if something changes, they can basically unbolt those equipments and pull it in and out, and then just adjust to, we need a bigger module, smaller module. Again, there is a lost time in there, but they learned the hard way and saying, well, when the auto industry came back, it came back bigger than what they were capable. And the solution to this was modular automation. And I live in Wisconsin, I mentioned this before, and I live in a small town, and it's actually called the cheese capital of the world, right? So you talk about Fabricator, we have food processing in here. First, when the restaurants slow down, right? All those cheese processors or producers, whatever you want to call, like, whoa, what do we do? The schools were locked down, so the schools did. And suddenly the demand came back because people started eating at home. They made their own cheese bread, their own cheese and a lot of them guys that were automated, literally, like you said, they vacuumed that excess capacity up. When you look at them now, 2 years into this, they literally doubled their business because they had that capability of the automation to say, well, our orders, we all had to shut down a little bit, send people home, lost a little money, but they were able to pick this up so fast that their business now is 50 to 100% bigger, because when that demand came back, they just said, guess what? We have the automation that can run 24/7. Some of them companies had invested in automation in the early 2015 and 2016, and they're really reaping that benefit right now when that business came back. And I don't know if you follow Harry Mosier a little bit with reshoring, right? We have work that wants to come back, but we don't have capacity. And I think one of the things is we don't have capacity because a lot of us rely on, and this is not a negative thing, on human capacity, right? on I work that, when you work 8-hour days, that's fine. Then you work a little overtime, but your productivity and efficiency, that robot's productivity and efficiency doesn't go down. It's not like a human that after 10 hours, I'm burned out, right? I can't stand anymore. My shoulders hurt. So those companies that invested in that first step automation and then moved to they are ready now, poised to go to step number 3. And I just follow some of the companies around us, and we do have one of our larger metal shops that actually they ran before all of this happened about 80 hours completely lights out in the week, because they were tweaking this. They are 250 hours of lights out right now, so they don't worry about bringing people anymore in for a third shift, which is hard to hire, or a second shift. They're deciding on now taking orders and put that in that lights out process. So in 2.5-3 years, they went fourfold on their lights out capabilities. And that's what they're saying. They say, guess what? Here's my art jobs. Here's my jobs. I need people engineering. And yes, we're still going to run them over there in the shop, but here's all the stuff that we can put in our flexible automation and run it 24/7 and gobble up other demand. They grew their ag business by 19% because they were capable of taking that business in and putting it on their lights out.
Being able to gobble up demand, as Mike put it, is key to smart implementation of automation. This involves demand for new business models like Kendall Howard, as well as taking new approaches to the business and new approaches to part flow, as we will cover in future Automation Talk episodes. So for now, thank you on behalf of FMA and Salvagnini America. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Automation Talk, and we'll see you next time.